Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Filmmakers Chat, part of the 20th edition of the New York Asian Film Festival, which is running from August 6th to the 22nd and presented by the New York Asian Film Foundation and Film at Lincoln Center. I'm Claire Marty, one of the programmers and associate director of the festival. And we are very happy to return to the cinemas this year and play films in person again. And one of the films we are discussing today here is Tiong Bahru Social Club, which is part of the Uncaged competition. And we'll play at the Walter Reed Theatre at the Film at Lincoln Center on Saturday, August 7th. So we're very happy to have with us director Tan Bitiam chatting with me today from Singapore. So welcome, Bitiam, and congratulations for such a brilliant film.
Thank
How
you,
are
Claire.
you?
I'm good. And hello,
Yeah.
New York Asian Film Festival, a festival that I've admired for a long time. And I'm really happy that Tiong Bahru Social Club is presented at the festival.
Right. So this is yeah, we absolutely loved your film. We're so proud to happy to play it. So I understand this is your debut as a solo director, but you're not a debutant as such. So you're also a producer. You produced the movie Demons by Daniel Hui, which played at many festivals. You also co-directed a film called Fundamentally Happy. So you're writer, you're editor, you're film curator for the Singapore International Festival of Arts. And I think it shows in your film, not just the storytelling is original, there's also like complete visual trait and composition, colors. So yeah, well done.
Thank you.
So I have my very first question. It's the thing that I was the most curious about straight away is the location, which served as the title of the film. So could you explain the background behind Tiong Bahru? Because I mean, for myself, someone who's never been to Singapore, the title was very intriguing. I didn't know what it was, and I discovered through the film. So I understand it's a place, it's a landmark in Singapore, or how did you use Tiong Bahru? Was it the central, as the central location of your story?
Yeah.
So
So I think today a lot of people would think of Tiong Bahru as a very hipster place. In fact, a few years ago when there was even a poll by Vogue that ranked Tiong Bahru as the, I think, top 5 hippiest neighborhoods in the world.
oh wow.
Yeah, so I think people always see it as an island of happiness, where people go to cafes and where people don't have to worry about a lot of things and they can just relax and have fun with their friends. But the origin of Tiong Bahru is actually quite interesting. So the name Tiong Bahru is actually both, the first word Tiong is actually a Chinese dialect word, which means cemetery.
Right.
And Baru is actually a Malay word, which means new. So it actually means new cemetery. Yeah, so I think before it was developed, as a housing neighborhood, it is actually a cemetery of dead people.
Oh.
Yeah, so which is why when we were thinking about the film, we were thinking also of a place where both the living and the dead would coexist. And of course, by I think the 60s, 70s, it is a place, because it is so near town, it is also a place that is very popular with a lot of rich tycoons. So they will have a second house or third house in Tiong Bahru. And the architecture of Tiong Bahru is such that there is always a back alley, where they can run away if their wife comes along, to check them and their mistresses. So that is Tiong Bahru, a place with very illustrious kind of cultural, social history. But of course, when you look at the facade of it, right, you would be immediately, I think, attracted by its architecture. Right, so it was built in the 30s as one of the first public housing developments in Singapore, with a very Art Deco kind of architecture. And if you look at some of the buildings, actually, it it has elements of a plane or a sheep, so which is very industrial, revolution driven kind of motives. And I think it being one of the first public housing in Singapore, it also envisioned the the kind of ideals, right, that the architects, that the builders during that time have about communal living, and what they hope to achieve, right, bring people together to live in this neighborhood. Yeah, so that was the history of the place.
Oh, very interesting. Wow. And so have you always wanted to write a story ever since you started to write stories about this place, or did you have had a story in mind first and then thought, searched location and then, oh, let's do it there? Or was it the other way around? Was it more like, oh, I've always wanted to have a story based in Tiong Bahru?
It was actually quite organic. So I met my co-writer, Antti Toivonen, from Finland. So he has been based in Singapore for a long time. So I met him at an event, and I think we were just chatting about making a film together. So I think through our conversations about home, about renting a place, and about Singapore, we slowly gravitate, towards a few places that are special to us, and one of which is Tiong Bahru, and also about home, right? What home means to us, at this point in our life. So I'm always very curious how someone like Antti, right, would leave their home in Finland or in other places, to come to a place like Singapore and call it home. So I think it's both me, who have lived here all my life, and someone who has moved to Singapore to call it home, writing a story together about what it means. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So so the crew that you did you co-write with
Yes, I did.
as a team, or did you write it all together? Did you all it's interesting having different cultures.
Yeah. So
So
we would meet, I think, every other 2 weeks, right, to talk and then to write a bit for over 3-4 years. Yeah.
Very interesting. Do you think he added elements of Finland in the in the story, the humor or anything, or is it like very mostly your own vision?
Well, I think it's both of us. I mean, I love Karu Karusmaki, and I think his work is, I think very brilliant. And when I find out more about Finland, and I visited Helsinki as well, I also realized how similar but different the city is. I mean, the country itself, we are almost the same, population, although we are, of course, much denser, in our land space.
Right. So actually, that was one of my next question about which director actually influenced you. Which director did you actually follow when you was younger, or did you when you started to think about films and writing stories? Who were the directors and films that most influenced you?
I'm quite a cinephile. Some of my favorite filmmakers include Godard and Ozu. But for Tiong Bahru Social Club itself, I was reading and watching and rewatching a lot of films by Buster Keaton, the silent comedies of Keaton, the colors of Yasujiro Ozu, as well as the mise-en-scène and sound design of Jacques Tati. So I think they are a deep influence for me, and I think a lot about them when I was making the film. I was also inspired by the music of Kraftwerk, as well as the writings of Lao Tzu and a Singapore theatre filmmaker called Guo Baokun. Yeah.
I see. Thanks. Yeah, of course, Tati and the retro style, Kraftwerk, the sci-fi. So there's quite a lot of mix of genre in your film, and it mixes also comedy and it's a dystopian sci-fi, but also usually sci-fi films can be quite sinister. And your film is actually has a lot of technicolor and humor. Did you actually like sci-fi as a kid, or did it just happen to your story took this turn?
Yeah, I'm actually an engineer by training.
Oh, I
So
see.
yeah, I love technology, and I always feel that every big leap in cinema is always caused by technology. So technology is always a fascination for me. Um, and I feel that for this film, what I really want to explore is, the idea of the past imagining the future. So
Right.
it is not, a film just about the future, but I think I want to put both the past and the future together. So in a space like Tiong Bahru or Pearl Bank, right? I'm always very interested in the architecture and the origin of like the ideas and the vision of these people who built these spaces for the next 100 years. What were they thinking about, right? The future. Yeah.
Right. I see. And also the film deals about quite some serious topics, although it's in a funny and colorful environment. You deal with like the hero Habi, him and his family, and he has like social pressure from his mother and the workplace. You deal also about cult, meditation on a Singaporean society, but it feels still very universal when you watch it. Um, so you balanced quite successfully dark humor. Um, how was the process of writing this? Did you mostly have ideas inspired by some things that you witnessed, something that actually happened to you personally in your life?
um, I think the first thing that I shared with my cast and crew, and which I wrote down, is that this is a film for my mother.
Right.
So my mom, like every other mother, is always nagging me to get married and buy a new flat and move out. So it's very much like I think all the mothers in the world. And so I wanted to make a film for her. Yeah. But I'm also a teacher. So in school, I have to teach this module called um, career guidance. So I'm always
Right.
talking about, to my students about their future, like what do you have to do to secure a good job, and how do you, be happy, how do you get a sense of satisfaction. So this film is also for my students, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, really interesting. And yeah, there's some like topics. There's also a lot of concepts that are quite unique in your film, like the puddle of cuddle, the whale sound of meditation, the Shago Mari game. It's quite funny. Did you have anything? You must have some fun on the set as well. Was there
Yeah,
something really funny that happened? Or
yeah, I think the set is a lot of fun. Also in the pre-production, we had, I mean, what you see on screen is really, like the collective ideas, of both the cast and the crew. So when we rehearsed something, like things and, some actors might just come up with some ideas and it would just present itself right on film. So I make sure that, it is a collaborative process and that everybody
right,
is able to voice out something. So the Kader workshop, part of it is from like a reader of the script, right, who is translating, I think, some MMA kind of work, and then reading our script and suggesting like a Kader workshop that uses like, those kind of moves. But then when it lands on, I think, the actor who has to execute it, which is Hanif, he decided to think of like animals, right, to do so. And that's how it comes with like a turtle, a spider, so on and so forth. And then during the rehearsal as well, we thought we wanted both the elderly and the young, right, agents to have like body contact. So this
right.
is where we want them to all cuddle together. And then when they start doing the thing, actually, without me asking, right, everything just synchronized itself, and then we decided to call it a puddle of cuddle.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so a lot of the things comes quite organically, and even
Right.
like when we were doing pre-production with like the set design and things here and there, I think we make sure that everybody is able to voice out, I think, their ideas, not just I think the head of departments, but anyone. Yeah, it could be an art assistant or somebody. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And how about there's another character that who has a quite leading role is Mrs. Wee's cat.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the cat? Are you a cat person, or did you want to have the cat among one of the leads? Or is there a real story behind the cat?
Yes, actually, the cat is inspired by a real cat in Tiong Bahru, which
Oh,
is quite
right.
legendary. Yeah, so the cat is called Bob the Cat. If you search Bob the Cat Tiong Bahru, you'll be able to find his Facebook page and stuff like that.
All right.
So he's actually quite a magical being. So he would like go from like household to household, right? In the day, and then at night he will return to his own like place. And he's a stray cat, right, in the neighborhood, but very much loved, by the residents. And in 2011, I think, he met with an accident. Yeah,
Oh,
so he was crossing a road and like a car knocked it down. And within 24 hours, the residents of Tiong Bahru raised about $20,000, right, for his operation. And today he's still well, right, and fighting in the back alleys with other cats, but a really loved cat of the residents. And when I hear about this story, I know that this cat must be in the film,
right. Yeah.
because for a film about happiness, if everybody can treat right one another just as how the residents treated this cat, I think we'll be in a very happy place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing way when something happens and brings all the residents together. And oh, happy ending at least for Bob the cat.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So a lot of the actually small stories comes from our interviews and our talks, with people who have lived there or people who are still living there. So it is a few years of us excavating the stories and putting it in like different segments and different layers. And I really enjoyed the process, of talking to people, and collaborating with them to bring something together. So although my name is Bitiam and the main character is Abhi, I always tell people that this is not autobiography. This is not autobiographical. That what I really enjoy about filmmaking is really stories about my friends and things around me that I cared for. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And what about you? You mentioned you interviewed the residents from Tiong Bahru. Did you actually use some real residents in the movie? Are there anyone who actually, some people who actually still live there for real?
Yes. Yeah. Some of the extras in the film, they are
Oh,
residents of Tiong Bahru. Yeah. So they live in the neighborhood. Yeah. So when we were filming, when we know that we are going to be filming on certain days, we also put out like notices to invite people to participate in the film. Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. So you mentioned you talked about happiness, which is like the central. The film revolves around the concept of happiness, like society's goal to reach happiness, and seems to me like such something like we constantly try to define or redefine, achieve. Um, how do you feel about it yourself? Do you feel like you've reached happiness, or like are you actually still pursuing it, or you just try not to think too much about it?
I think for me, happiness is an illusion. Yeah. I am more at peace, with what I have. Yeah, I'm a pretty Zen person, I would say.
Mm.
But I think what I found interesting when I was researching about happiness, looking at the different philosophies, the different
Mm.
philosophers who have been writing about it, is and also reflecting about how it applies to, I think, life today, is that we are always trying different ways to measure how happy we are, and
True.
even like a few years ago, we have the United Nations now publishing, instead of the GDP, the happiness, report. I think when we start measuring happiness and we know how happy we are compared to other people, it seems that we need to be the happiest, right, for us to be truly happy. So which is why the tagline, the happiest neighborhood in the world, it is no longer about happiness, but to be the happiest. And becomes a race, it becomes a competition. And in every competition, of course, for it to be fair, we always feel that we need to apply a bell curve, right? Because not everybody can or should, right, get an A for a test, right? We always make sure that it has to be a bell curve for it to be fair. So that idea, right, that not everyone can be happy, only some people can be happy at every one point in time, just like how you give out your A's and your B's and your C's, becomes something which interests me. Yeah.
Interesting. And are you already thinking, do you have started a new project? I know you're very busy, like you're teaching, and your film is actually Tiong Bahru Social Club was the opening film of the Singapore International Film Festival, and now it's having a long festival life internationally. Are you already working on something else?
I didn't study film, so for me to learn film, I help to produce for other people, for filmmakers that I admire and would like to learn from. So I would produce for people, to see how and to learn from them how they make their films. So I'm actually producing for some filmmakers now, and I hope that their films will be completed soon in the next few years. And for myself, I would usually take my time, right, to write and to make. Yeah.
Great. So many projects on the making. And so we are really happy for the screening. We're going to be in person, very nice. And actor Thomas Pang will be joining the screening in New York at the Film at Lincoln Center on, as I said, August 7th. Will you be working with Thomas Pang in the future? Did you work together really closely?
Yeah, actually, this is our first time working together. In fact, with quite a number of the other actors as well. So they are all, I think, my heroes. So I'm really glad to be working with them. Both Thomas, as well as Guat Kian, Jaylene, Joe, Muna. I think they are amazing actors. They do a lot of work in theater. And I've always been following their works. So I'm really glad that this is the debut film for a number of them who have never been in film before. And I hope that they will have more chance, not just to work on my film, but also with other filmmakers. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Bee Tiam. And so it's going to be, as I said, a very special screening. I wish you'd be here in New York. And do you have anything that you would like to share, any message to the US audience before we say goodbye?
Well, I'm really glad, right, that the film will have its US premiere at the New York Asian Film Festival. And I hope that you'll like the film. And please take care of my actor who will be there with his mom and show him much love. Yeah, thank you.
We will. And I'm sure the audience will be delighted to ask him questions as well. So,
and I hope one day that everyone in US will be able to visit Tiong Bahru as well.
Really want to visit as well.
Soon, I hope.
Soon. We very much look forward to meeting him too. And so the film can be watched online as well after the day after the in-person screening. It can be watched at the Lincoln Center Virtual Cinema for 5 days. Please check our website, nyaff.org, to discover all the films that are on offer in person and virtually. Thank you so much, Bee Tiam.
Thank you, Claire.
And thank you. We all hope all the audience will enjoy the film as much as we did. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.